Welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Board of Trustees of East Cincinnati Independent School District being held on August 26, 2021, beginning at 6:30.
Jill Brazil. Steve Bryant.
Here.
Victor Garza.
Here.
James Mulkey.
Here.
Javier Barrientos. Tony Presses here. John Messingill. Mr. President.
Thank you very much. We will move on to item 3, prayer and prayer. Mr. Thomas, who do we have here at?
We have some students in our amazing principal, Cassidy High School, Dr. Wendy Tiller, who will be getting our meeting started, and I believe they also got a presentation to share with us. Dr. Tiller?
Good evening, Mr. Toscano, President Massengill, and members of the school board. It is my honor to come before you this evening and present just a few of our exceptional students from Cassidy High School. Tonight I've asked Jalen Campos, an amazing 10th grade Cassidy student, to say the pledges for you, and the prayer will be said by Ariana Cruz, an equally amazing 10th grader at Cassidy.
Will you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor to Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Dear Lord, we thank you today for all your blessings, for the successful outcomes of our school events, and for all our students, parents, and staff members. We ask that you bless them, and we continue to seek your wisdom, guidance, courage, and strength. Be with our board in their deliberations and help them in decisions that will make for the good of all those who have placed their trust and confidence in their leadership. Grant us the humility to always seek your will in all that we do and say. In your name we pray, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Jalen and Ariana. Before I introduce the students, I'd like to tell you a little bit about PBL, or project-based learning. Cassidy students tackle real-world projects designed by local employers and civic leaders. While working in teams alongside mentors from the field, students learn our subjects through the lens of trying to solve a problem driven by a single question. Student groups are guided in their learning by teachers who support unique experiences related to project development. They encourage problem solving and professional presentation. Students begin to understand their why and seek out the learning in order to provide a real-world solution. Although working as a group can be a challenge, these students soon discovered their strengths. And with the help of parents and industry feedback, students developed a comprehensive presentation of learning that we're sharing with you tonight. So I'd like to introduce Caitlin Vasquez, our Cassidy Partnership Development Specialist, a truly unique position in education. Ms. Vasquez has had an important part in leading our exceptional Cassidy students on their PBL journeys.
Thank you, Dr. Fuller. At all CAS campuses, the partnership development position provides a gateway to connect students to industry and higher education partners. Students work with industry partners who act as mentors and motivators on these projects, building portfolios that will open the doors to a world of opportunities post-graduation. The PBL project that we're viewing today was chosen as the top spring PBL by their peers, their parents, their teachers, and our industry judges. We are proud of all their hard work and the real-world applicability of their solution. At this time, I would like to welcome Gracie Velasic to introduce her experience with this innovative model at Cassidy.
Well, what is PBL? PBL is an acronym that stands for Project-Based Learning. At CAS Lead and other CAS schools, this is the standard of our learning. Instead of learning for each class subject in isolation from one another. When each when each class connects to the next one and is centered around a common question or concern, we get to explore authentic challenges that are useful for life beyond the school walls, like taxes, communication, servant leadership, and so much more. With this knowledge, we are able to help not only our community, but the world. We are honored and excited to present to you today. My teammate Jalen will now kick us off.
Hello, we are the Cass Urgent Care Clinics for low-income families. My name is Jalen Campos. This is Ariana, Gracie, Ella, Tyson, and Madeline. We are Cooper's Corporation, also known as CAS, which is an acronym that stands for Cass Agency Sanctuary and Trauma Relief. And we appreciate you guys coming to listen to us speak about our project that we have worked tirelessly on.
During the rise of COVID-19, we noticed families across our community were impacted heavily at this time. A large portion of these families, including some of our own, were unable to get the proper help, as shown all over the news and the internet. Due to these other factors and others that have been considered, we presented with our PBL regarding the question how to provide equitable access to resources during this time of crisis. We decided to create this nonprofit organization to aid those who have been overcharged or forsaken by the medical industry.
Within our community, there are many different medical problems that families and areas with low income face. But to aid in the prevention of medical or mental problems that have not been taken care of, we have created a nonprofit organization that will help. We've constructed a nonprofit organization with this as their main focus. In our remaining slides, we would like to show you how we plan on executing the same.
Our main goal is to create a nonprofit organization that would help to improve quality of life for those in low-income communities. We would operate by sending out buses that have all the materials necessary to set up a mobile clinic to assist those that are having medical difficulties. We will execute this plan by providing basic medical care, mental health, counseling, and temporary care lodging services. Using the leadership and communal skills we have learned from past week, we can apply those to different pathways and even new experiences. During the research phase of our project, we found this information. According to the latest U.S. Census, San Antonio and New Orleans areas are ranked the highest poverty among the most populous U.S. metro areas. In addition, lack of access to reliable transportation affects those most affected by poverty and low-income, and preventing them to go to the resources they require. One effect of Brevard County children experience food insecurity year after year. Additionally, a higher percentage of San Antonio residents rely on public assistance compared to the U.S. overall. Those experiencing poverty consistently evidence a wide range of good health problems, including obesity, diabetes, and many more diseases.
We also have included evidence on the poverty rates in Texas. Using this information, we have created the chart that you see now, which showcases this data. And here we have a resource map that lists all the free clinics in the San Antonio area. Using this map, we can cross-reference low-income areas that do not have access to this. Access to these clinics and bring the clinic to the people instead of the people to the clinic.
This is a small list of examples we from them that show what our clinic would do in and outside of us. such as things like wellness checkups, vaccines, counseling, and therapy.
Here's a small list of professions that we would even hire. From doctors to bus drivers, and everything between. Now, how are we utilizing this organization, you might ask? In the city, there are many, many low-income communities with even more cases of physical and mental health problems that are practically ignored by mainstream medical services. We want to help and support these sections within our communities that are not able to access these, and bring the clinic to the people instead of people to the clinic, so that everyone can live a happy, healthy life where everyone can look for a brighter future and stay healthy.
We made this prototype to illustrate one of our buses, We made a prototype of one of our buses to illustrate our unique selling point. Through a 5-day process with my father, we finished the bus May 5th, 2021. We used many types of devices, whether it's sander, grinder, and even a jigsaw. It took time, patience, and trust with one another. We started this mini project by going to the basics workshop, sitting down and discussing plans with their father. Then it started to take off.
We hope you enjoyed this short skit video that helps illustrate the efficacy of our mobile clinics.
Oh, there it goes. Here. It's still not doing it, sorry. This is the children of our club will keep plan on having 3 cabins. One for medical, one for counseling, and the last one will be the office and storage. When starting this panel, we are creating medical plan while using housing, cooking, medical treatment, and other cooking. We spent quite a lot of time focusing on building the most effective center for those that are near our city. Within the main headquarters, we'll have a kitchen, cafeteria, lodging, provided food, refreshments, and a meditation room. So far, this is how much we estimate that our organization and equipment and everything included will cost. Sorry. The cost of our project is based upon an analysis performed by Sue O'Connell, a research analyst for the Children, Family, Health, and Human Services Intercommittee. The values we are using are based upon a total cost including equipment for a 16-bed facility, patient facility. In addition, we included in our cost analysis 3 buses including outfitting, office equipment, kitchen equipment, medical equipment, laundry equipment, and 6.69 acres of land in East San Antonio and a paved parking lot.
We would obtain our funding from federal, state, community grants, fundraising monthly, and donations from individuals and businesses of the San Antonio Coast.
And that's all. Thank you for listening to us. Our ultimate goal for this project is that we share our ideas with enough powerful stakeholders so that they will see this gap as well and invest helping making our idea a reality for our community. At this time, we would extremely appreciate and like to open up the floor to any feedback or questions to guide us with this goal.
I would like to personally thank all of the parents who have supported past lead students and allowed their child to be showcased tonight. I would also like to acknowledge the teachers that helped prepare students for this presentation. If parents and teachers would please stand and be recognized at this time. Thank you, school board members, for allowing us to showcase our student leaders and for your continued support in innovative learning.
Thank you all very much. That was very wonderful. wonderful, very informative. Appreciate that. Thank you. All right, we will move on to item 4, awards and recognitions.
So, Mr. Manager, we have a couple of awards, recognition this evening, one of which will be to formally recognize the group of seniors. But first, we'd like to start with the state champion. Ms. Gomez?
Hi, I would like to invite to the podium Ms. Lori Kempen, who is going to talk about Brianna, a 10th grader at East Central High School in our FFA program.
School Board President Massengale, Superintendent Roland Toscano, and the members of our board that are present tonight, as well as our guests. I would like Brianna, you'll come on up, to be recognized. She was a freshman when we started our process last year, and I want to recognize Brianna because she did an outstanding job in a very difficult situation. One, she went through school during COVID, right? But secondly, she came through as a freshman in a public speaking contest. The number one fear people have in this world is speaking in front of people. And Brianna is not one of those people, I can tell you that, assure you that. She is a product of our colloquium program at the middle school. She is one that has been extremely active as part of our groups around San Antonio that are actually investigating things that we can do as a community to better bring forth better opportunities for our students. And she sits on many of those committees and represents East Central, not just East Central FFA. But I was lucky enough to find Brianna last year as a freshman. And she came to me and I said, Brianna, you already know your creed. And if anybody knows about FFA, it's the first thing they learn is their FFA creed. It's 5 paragraphs long, they memorize it and have to say it. She goes, yes, ma'am, I have it all done. It was like the second day. And I said, you're gonna come to creed practice because I'm gonna teach you how to deliver and speak to a group. She goes, okay, I'll do that. And she did, even though she was online. She came every day to school, for the most part, online last year. It wasn't until the very end of the year that I started seeing her at school every day. But every day, faithfully, she came on and she did the creed contest. She qualified for area and did a great job. I said, we're gonna do something different in spring. We're gonna speak again, and we're gonna speak about soil and water conservation. She goes, we're not gonna do freshman speaking, Ms. Gimpin? I go, no, we're not. I said, I'm throwing you in with the big dogs. And so we did. We threw her in, and she actually did a great deal of investigation throughout the state, talking about soil and water conservation, but particularly how forests can develop healthy communities. The last time I checked, we don't have a lot of forest here in San Antonio. So she did a lot of information gathering about tree canopies, hot zones, and things that we could do in our own community. Started a plan on our campus, planted some trees, got with Mr. Banix, which is a member of our community as well. He donated some trees, reached out to her and said, you are one hot girl, I tell you, because you got everything down. You wrote the notes, you did the investigation. Your teacher hasn't done anything but teach you. And so it was great. We went to district. She was first in district. Went to area. She was first in area. She's the only freshman in the contest. They're all upperclassmen. She goes, I don't know if I did good or not. I didn't go to state convention because I sent my team there and stayed back. She called me, she goes, I don't know if I did okay. I think I did. I said, Brianna, you did great. I know you did. I'd already gotten a call, called Dr. Holman. I said, guess what, we won. She was the state champion in soil and water public speaking, was able to address the soil and water conservation district and talk to them about her findings and how relevant and project-based, just like the CAS lead. Here we're developing leaders. There's no better. I am very proud to present Brianna Jimenez. I would love to recognize her parents, Joe and Veronica Jimenez. They've done a great job. Really a great job, and what a way to start off the year and representing with the state championship. Thank you very much.
Awesome, congratulations, Brianna. Okay, at this time, we'd like to call back up our Cassidy students. We have Jalen Campos, Ariana Cruz, Noah Padilla, Gracie Polosic, Madeline Resendez, and Tyson Toscano. They were awarded in the spring of 2021 the Outstanding Project-Based Learning Award for the 9th grade CAST campus. And so we want to congratulate them for all of their hard work and their accomplishments. Next, we would like to call up our students who participated in the National Educators Rising Competition, and that they are from the Texas Association of Future Educators. These kiddos were coached by Karen Viator and Trish Garcia. And first, we'd like to welcome up Ryan Falcone. He's a senior this year, and he competed in the National Educators Rising Competition and placed 9th in impromptu teaching. Congratulations, Ryan. Next, Carissa Trevino. Is Carissa with us tonight?
Yes.
Excellent. Come on down, Carissa. Carissa Trevino is a 2021 graduate, and she placed 7th in lesson plans and delivery of humanities. Next, we have 2 sophomores who both competed in elementary bulletin board competition. And that's Analia Lopez, come on down, and we'd also like to recognize the parents of these students who went and competed. So if you'll please stand up, all of the parents. So much. Thank you. That concludes our recognition. Thank you for being here.
I would like to thank everybody for the recognition as well. So that's great, Brianna. You get a spare moment, everybody knows up here how I love to talk in front of people, so maybe you can give me a few pointers. I can use it, I'm sure. So, with that, we're going to take a short recess until 7 o'clock, and then we'll come back and continue our meeting.
Yes, sir, Mr. Oswald, we have 3 people signed up for public comments. The first one is Blaze Stockton, and he will be speaking about masks. You'll address the officer, yeah.
Good. I thought, we were, you had 5 minutes. Sure. Okay, thank you.
I just want to ask you all to start mask policy in these central schools. I want to take everybody's opinions out of it. I want to take everybody's take all the politicians out of it. Start listening to the medical professionals. They're telling us to wear masks. They're telling us to vaccinate. I really hate following the kids. That was some great presentations. Really hate to bring you down, but we're in the middle of a global pandemic. We clearly know everybody's opinions. We wear it on our face right now. Your opinion if you want to wear a mask or not. Sorry about that. Whatever happened to lead by example? Wearing masks, kids will see you wearing them, or they will see you not wearing them. You should be wearing your mask in a public place. Listen to the medical professionals. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to the people behind me. Listen to them. 2 things you can do. Vaccinate and wear your mask. That's it. That's the only tools we got right now. There are millions of people dying. And we cannot get masks. Don't listen to that idiot governor. Listen to the medical professionals. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next up, we have Mr. John Holt, who would also like to speak on COVID.
First of all, thank you for giving me an opportunity to be here. I'm sorry I'm dressed. Just got out of work real quick. You have 5 minutes. That's fine. Thanks. First off, let me start off by saying I have 3 kids that are students here, high school, middle school, elementary also. And first off, let me thank you before all COVID on the quality of education you all provide. ECentral, we used to be ECISD students. ECentral is so much above that I'm grateful, very grateful that we are where we are. And 2, last year was last year, and it was tough for everybody, and policies were policies, but I'm much happier to see what's happening now. I think despite what people say, everybody can believe what they believe, it's fine. And to go off of that, to frame my conversation, I want to have 2 quotes that I read for y'all. And the first one being from Thomas Jefferson. Question with boldness even the existence of God, because if there be one, he must approve of the homage of reason than that of blindfolded fear. And some people might hear that question, God, question the existence of God. No, Thomas Jefferson was a Christian man, believed in God. But the idea is that to never blindly just listen. God created us for individual thought, to be different people. And that's all right. Despite what some people think that you wear your opinion on your face, I don't judge you off of that. That's wrong to judge someone like that. And it's sad that that's the world that we live in. And yeah, we should lead by example. We should teach our kids that you're not judging people on how they look. It was never supposed to be like that. And that's why I say I do appreciate the policies that y'all have now. That's great. I want y'all to keep doing that. And with that, let me read my second quote from MLK Jr. When evil men plot, good men must plan. When evil men burn and bomb, good men must build and bind. When evil men shout ugly words of hatred, good men must commit themselves to the glories of love. And that just right there, so to me that means we can lead by example. We don't need to just blindly follow. We can build something good here. We can be the example of shows that we can make it work. Despite what the news says, despite what talking heads on the television love to spew out, because a lot of it, actually, when you do your research, is false. And it's sad to say, but that's what people need to do, more research. Look into Israel. Look into what's going on with vaccinations there. Look into Australia, how they're treating the people. It's not that far away from being here, but we could stop that. We could say that's not right. And it's funny because you will never see that stuff on the news. You actually have to go out and seek that information. And that's where, to me, I just really appreciate the way it's going this year. I would love if we keep on that trajectory and don't fear what other people are gonna say. Don't fear what KSAT 12 is gonna say. Because guess what? You got a lot of people that have your back. And it doesn't matter what people say. It matters the results. And we can have the results if we just do what we do. Not worry so much about what everything doing. That's all I got to say.
Thank you. Next, we have Marcus Rotos.
Real quick, yeah, school board, thank you for hearing me. My name is Marcus Rockwell. I'm a lifelong Central member, community member. ECDC Bear, Harmony Pop, Oppressed Leader, Heritage Hurricane, East Central Oregon. So when it came to raising my family in a community, East Central was always big. So as I grew up, I lived into the community, stayed in the community, and lived here. I had a speech ready, and it was a great speech. I worked on it all day. And I wish I could hear it. We talked about how we can come together as a community. We talked about how if we don't learn from the past, how can we be better in the future, and how Central has always been better, how we've always been a model of being better. And the Texas Supreme Court made a call today, and I'm sure you're more aware of it, where they decided that Mr. Abbott, Governor Abbott, could not allow us to put in masks. And I had to think about this board, and I know requiring preventative measures such as mask or virtual schooling does come at monetary impacts for this district. It does come at personal impacts for this board and to your livelihood and to your personal lives. And when it comes to weighing those personal impacts and those monetary impacts against protecting our kids and requiring masks or putting in preventative measures such as virtual schooling, I would ask you to just take a step back and think. When a firefighter goes into a burning building and he sees someone to be saved, he doesn't think he's going to get burned. He runs in there and saves that person because that's what heroes do. And what we're asking you is to be heroes. If you look across the country, across the state, you're seeing people stand up for what's right, put these preventative measures in and save these kids. So I would just ask this board to stand up and be heroes for these kids. On the subject of heroes, I just want to thank all the teachers in here. Us as parents are telling y'all what we think you should do. The board is saying what they will do. And our teachers are looking at it 8 hours a day in the face every single day. So I want to thank them for being our kids' protectors, our kids' security guards, our kids' nurses, and most importantly, our kids' educators, among the 100 other things. Thank you.
Thank you. That concludes public comment. Yes, sir.
We will move on to item 5, public hearing. We have a public hearing. The board talks to CD local, the annual public meeting to discuss the proposed budget and tax rate shall be conducted as follows. Does anybody want to speak on these regarding this public hearing? Next, we'll move on to the next item, which is superintendent's report. 3.1, personnel report. Mr. Scott?
Trustees, this month's report is in your electronic package. The activity in this month's report is pretty substantial. We have filled the majority of positions in the district, like many districts around the state. Coming off of the pandemic, it's been difficult to fill teaching positions across our area and the state. And so we've got a couple of positions that we're currently accounting for. We're in the process of filling teacher positions, and so we're really close. We have seen an uptick in enrollment as the school year has begun, and so we've made some shift shifts in staffing from where we had less enrollment to where those needs were. And we've already added one additional teacher at tradition because of our pre-kindergarten enrollment. So our enrollment is seeing some positive impact, particularly when we saw the decline last year in pre-K and K, so we're very excited about that. Our high school is over 3,000 students. That's another 100 with Cass Lead, so that's, our middle schools are over 1,000 students each. In fact, Heritage is pushing 1,300, so our enrollment's looking really good. But we've got a couple positions we need to fill. So as far as personnel report goes, I'd be happy to get you any additional information you would like to know about any of the activities you see in this motion.
We'll move on to 6.2, discuss issue property values.
Sir, Mr. Pastor, trustees, in your miscellaneous packet, you will see a slide deck outside property tax information. Ms. Bird put this together for the board, and essentially it's a summary of the difference between our M&O tax rate, and INS tax rate, as well as a timeline for what got us here today, for which you'll be considering adopting the tax rate tonight for the upcoming year. On the third page, it presents our certified values and it compares them back from 2017 to date. In 2021, what I wanted to point out to the board was that we have seen, in terms of property value increases, 41% increases in values over the last 5 years in this particular community. So our certified values have continued to grow at a tremendous rate in the central community. In fact, that's that affects how state funding is rolled out. And on the fourth page, there's a brief description or reminder for the board, you're very familiar with this information, about how the state uses property values to determine our funding and ultimately to set our M&O tax rate, which we'll be presenting tonight. Ultimately, the change from House Bill 3, one of the biggest changes was that we used to use present year values, or the state used to use present year values to determine our funding level, and they used present year values, which actually is benefiting us as well as most districts in the state because we have a lag. And you can't go from one year to the next where you see for whatever reason a significant decline in values. The best example I can give is in the Houston area, Hurricane Harvey, they went for 1 year where their values were determined by the previous year, and because of all the issues, the damage of the hurricane, their property values went down dramatically, and so it impacted their funding substantially in the subsequent year. And so present year values is we believe, a much more appropriate formula for calculating our state funding. So we'd be happy to answer any additional questions the board may have about property values and property tax information before we present tax or tax rates for consideration. Yes, sir.
So this page shows net taxable. So I'm assuming that would be, if someone was 65, the property values were frozen, it would be the value at the time of point where they were frozen, not property value.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Anybody else? I'll get close every day.
Well, I'm not close to 65.
All right, we'll move on to 6.3, DEC local review, leave for peace officers, Mr. Scott.
Trustees, the board has already adopted update 117, right? Will be adopted, I'm sorry, 117 tonight is in the consent agenda. Last month, update 117 was its review period for the board. However, there was one policy included in that update for which we were waiting on guidance. And so we received that guidance. This particular policy DEC local speaks to leaves, absences, benefits for employees. And there's a specific part that was added in the last legislative session around school district peace officers and their ability to qualify for a temporary leave of up to 5 days when they are involved on duty in a qualifying traumatic event. And so we were waiting on legal guidance for what that package might look like. It's included in here for your review this month. We want you to take a look at that and of course give us any feedback. If there's any questions or you need additional information, we'll be happy to provide that. And then we'll bring this back to you next month for your consideration and possible improvement. If you have to answer any questions. The policy is attached and it has the original language that is stricken out as well as the added language. And again, the specific part that we were delayed, we want you to refer back to and review the part about that need peace officers to qualify.
What was the circumstances of the legal?
So we'll have to develop an administrative procedure for what determines a qualifying event, but essentially the spirit of it is that if an officer is involved in a traumatic event while on duty, that they could qualify for up to 5 days of leave for each of those events. So it could be that, it could be an emotionally traumatic event, something they witnessed, something they were involved in. Yes, sir. And so there's a series of possibilities for what could be a qualifying event. We'll review this month, and should the board approve it, we'll definitely put a administrative policy together using the Texas School Procedures partners that we use. Living Order Group will help us write that procedure. And then we'll align to the policy that the board adopts. Wherever that is.
It seems to me like that's the most critical part of this.
Yes, sir.
5 days of leave or whatever that amounts to, it doesn't seem to be that onerous a requirement, but the qualifications for that would be.
Yep. So, yes, sir. We'll work with the Texas School Procedures to help us write that official procedure once the board has adopted the policy. We'll bring it back to you next week.
We'll move on to 6.4, upcoming events. Mr. Stumpf.
So there's a few items on your calendar this month, next month that I want to point out. August and September. August is quickly coming to a close, but as you can see throughout the month, we have been aware all of our fall activities are well into the onset of those seasons. Our football team's going to have its first football game of the season. Great Eagle Hornets event this past Wednesday at the high school, well attended, very exciting. Great to see all the kids, coaches and staff and community together again in what felt a little bit more like what we were familiar with 18 months ago. In September, you'll see the first home football game is Friday the 3rd. We will be hosting Roosevelt then. Labor Day weekend, the 6th is a student staff holiday. Our elementaries will host their open house events on the 9th. Our middle schools will host open house events on the 14th. Our next regularly scheduled board meeting we'll see is on the 16th, 6:30, right here. And then Tacitaki is right around the corner. If you signed up for that convention, we'll keep you posted if anything changes regarding whether it's going to be in person. As of right now, it is in person. And things are still planned to go on as scheduled. But should something change, we'll let you know as soon as we know. That begins on the 23rd of September and runs through the 26th. You'll also notice the blue bar right above that, the 20th through the 23rd kind of overlaps with that. Our leadership team will be at the Holbrook Center for the second series of this first year's leadership pipeline training that we're working on with that partnership. Yeah, to answer your question.
Yes, we only have two non-district games.
This school year, it looks like we have
Three, San Marcos,
we
Roosevelt,
got, yeah, Canyon, Roosevelt, and then San Marcos. And then we'll
First district game is two.
Steel, yes, sir, on the 17th, that'll be the first issue. District football.
Real quick, trustees, in your packet also, y'all see a couple of handouts. One is memorandum, it's the do's and don'ts as far as trustees, is what we can and can't do is on the bond election. Bullet points there, there's 6 of them, read them, and that's what we can and cannot do. And then the second thing is, what we know about the end of the open meetings act suspension order. As of September 1st, we will no longer be allowed to do virtual meetings. It will be all in person. So after September 1st, that's the package that's document right here. And we will be in person only. No virtual will be allowed anymore to be in the open meetings act suspension order. So if that changes comes September 1st. So if anybody has any questions or we could either roll in our eye and discuss it or whatever. All right, we'll move on to action agenda 7.1, revision of the 2021-2022 student code of conduct. Mr. Scott.
Sir, Mr. Masco's trustees, in recent years, as you're aware, we've utilized the TASB model handbook. We rewrote our handbook a few years ago, kind of aligned it to TASB's model handbook. Each and every year, they make recommendations for additions or deletions or edits, verbiage most often. And so this year, all the highlighted areas are the recommendations that they have for making some amendments to our student code of conduct. The essence of the document remains exactly the same. They just cleaned up some language. We also have a committee with campus administration and district level staff reviewing the policy or the code of conduct annually. We've added some resources in there for administrators. The committee did a phenomenal job really tying together the handbook with the chapter 37 administrative code. So in administering this student handbook and code of conduct, they got a one-stop shop to make sure that their actions are very well informed, very aligned, and that we can be consistent as we implement this student code of conduct consistently and as it's intended. And so we'll be happy to answer any questions the board might have about anything in this particular year's student handbook. And we've got several staff here with us today who are very instrumental in reviewing this as they are each and every year. Always.
All right, we're good. There.
All right, Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the proposed revisions to the 2021-2022 student code of conduct as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the proposed revisions to the 2021-2022 student code of conduct. Do I have a motion? Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion from Mr. Victor Garza, I have a second from Monique Priest. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to 7.2, raise your hand, Texas grant. Mr. Scott?
Sir, I'd like to call Dr. Fuller of the code, Dr. S. Fuller, to present the first grant and then follow that up next year, which will be the second grant the district received for the upcoming year that we would like to present to the board for your consideration.
Good evening, Mr. Massengale, Mr. Scott, Board of Trustees. So the first grant that I'll be talking about tonight is the Raise Your Hand Texas. It is for blended learning. I've talked to you about this grant last year. We received it last year. Last year was our planning year. This year is our implementation year. It is a 4-year grant. It's a grant that was awarded to Pond Valley and Salado. So this year we will be in our first implementation year. The grant is in the amount of $117,880. And they'll be using it for training, Chromebooks, technology. They will be receiving training in partnership with the organization that awarded us the grant, as well as going to conferences and to professional development to receive training. And part of that is the cost that's also being awarded. They've also done some training that we paid them to write some curriculum right in the summer, so teachers got together and prepared some, not less playlists is what we're calling them, to help them for this year to get prepared. And so we paid them for that. And then we are also purchasing some collab furniture. So in the elementary spaces, in between the classrooms, there are those big collaborative spaces that are there. And we purchased furniture for K through 3, but 4 and 5 are going to be purchasing some furniture out of this grant to help with flexible seating. They'll also help with time, place, space, and flexibility for students within the grant as well.
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the Raise Your Hand Texas grant in the amount of $117,880.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the Raise Your Hand Texas grant in the amount of $117,880. Do we have a motion? Have a motion from Dale Brazil. Have a second from Mr. Steve Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Gail. All right, we'll move on to, I believe, 7.3 ACS Greenlight grant. Mr. Scott.
All right. So the next grant that we received was in the amount of $22,000 from a partnership. And with those funds, or partially with those funds, what we would like to purchase is we would like to use those funds towards what is called Greenlight. And in your folder, you have a handout that looks like this. And this gives you a little bit more information about the Greenlight project. This is an exciting project that we're starting this year. And we're starting with a high school. We hope, our goal is to have this up and running with our high school students by January. And so what this is, it's a software and a service that we're providing for our students. It is, if you will, like a housing. So if I was a student at the high school, through Greenlight, I would be able to access my transcript through this platform. So instead of having to call the school and request it, I could log on to my account and get my transcript right there. I could also upload any certificates that I received. I could upload any letters of recommendations that my teachers write. I could put all of it in my little portal on Greenlight. And then I can give access to any colleges or schools or any post-secondary anything that I want to and have access to it, so they can access my records. And so the nice thing about it is it's all housed in one place. It's one-stop shopping for our students, so that it's just a nice little record keeping, and then they can have it all for them. I think it looks very professional. So it's something that we want to pilot, we want to work on this year to help provide our students access and to help them with their records.
Well, can you also talk a little bit about employers' access as well?
Yes, anybody post-secondary can access, the student has to give the access to their post-secondary, so if it's an employer, if it's a school, they can give access and they can get their recommendations, their certifications, their transcripts, anything like that. There's also a badging component that we can a digital badging component that if, that's an option that we haven't really necessarily explored, but it's something that we are looking at exploring, where students can earn credentials or as they earn certain areas of expertise, they can earn a badge, and then those badges can be put into this, and then anybody, their employers, their universities can look and see what they have done as a record keeping for them. Does that help?
Yeah, and in addition to that, students share the scholarship with you.
Yes.
So if they're,
All of it,
if
yes.
they're a candidate for a particular scholarship, they can just share their Greenlight portal access to that potential scholarship provider. So it's what we've learned, the problem that this software is trying to solve is that navigating all of the requirements for getting transcripts, sending transcripts, sharing resumes and or portfolios of credentials or letters of recommendation and transcripts for employers, for higher education, for continuing education, is sometimes that's where kids get lost. They don't use their minds, they get lost in what the processes require. Every entity tends to be different. If you go to get a transcript at UTSA, it's different than requesting a transcript at Alamo colleges. And so this is a way for them to own all that. And they don't have to rely on all those third-party entities to be able to apply for a job, a scholarship, or admission to a university or post-secondary continuing education.
And it's all housed in one place for the student. So they don't have to go get their resume here and their recommendation here and their transcript here. It's all in one place that the student can upload everything and keep it together and then send it off.
Now, how secure if a kid can pull up his transcript, they can have a doctorate of, all right. How secure is that? It's
very secure.
Very secure.
You
So
can't do anything like that.
no, so we would upload their transcript. It's not like in a document that they could change. It is in a non-transferable document. So it would be like a PDF, if you will. So they can't change it, they can just view it. Correct. Like a real. Correct.
But if they wanted to save that document, it's in a PDF form or whatever, whoever's looking at it can save that within their file.
But to send that transcript to a college wouldn't have some type of central stamp on it or what?
So
A central set, yeah.
in
For it to be legal.
official,
That's the word. College.
so in the Greenlight, what we're working with is like the template for what it would look like, so that it'll be an eCentral-like transcript. So when they look at it, it'll look like an eCentral transcript. It won't look. It'll have the same look and feel as an eCentral transcript. So it won't look like a Greenlight transcript. It'll look like an eCentral transcript in their portal.
Greenlight's establishing agreements with all the higher education entities, Texas Workforce Commission, continuing education institutions, to ensure the integrity of what's being shared, and also so that both sides accept the process to make sure that it's efficient. So they will say, we're partnering with them in San Antonio, and San Antonio says a Greenlight transcript is efficient, for example. So this is a project that the UP partnership essentially has been working on with several folks in the city for about 3 years. The city of Dallas did something similar. I was able to pull it off. So there's a proof of concept over about a 5-year period that San Antonio wanted to mimic for the high school students of the city of San Antonio. And so after about 3 years, this opportunity is now real. And so the UP partnership, which is formerly P16, has provided the opportunity with some grant money for us to launch it, pilot it, see if it's going to work for us, see if we like it, and then if we do, we can continue to pay for the service on a per student basis. And so really rolling it out isn't gonna cost us anything using the grant funds, and then it gives us a chance to vet it, see if it works the way it's intended, see if it's something that works for our families, for our students. This is something that once we launch in the spring and have some experience with, we'll be sharing with the board how, if we want to continue budgeting for it, continue to make this service going forward.
This year requires a setup fee and then a per student licensure of $1. Next year, if we would not have to pay the setup fee, we just have to pay the per student and going forward, per dollar per student usage.
I believe the amount of the grant covers
It does.
all of that.
It does, it covers it all. And plus, we have this year and probably the next 3 years with grant funding to cover.
So the district is uploading all the information for each student into the Greenlight system, or?
We're uploading the transcripts. And then the students have the ability to upload any recommendations, any additional certifications that they might get, anything else that they would like to create a portfolio of sorts.
So is the transcript coming off of one of our other systems?
Correct.
Okay, so there's no manual. Say, Steve Ryan completed English form. That's coming off of our
Correct.
book.
Yes, we'll do an upload. So that's part of what we have to do is between October and December, we're going to do work with Dr. B to help us upload it into the system.
And are all of the universities on board with these transcripts?
As far as we know.
That's what we're working on, yes.
Is there a disclaimer on the site about the titles of students or that we don't have any part of that, anything other than the transcript was contributed by the student?
I don't know that.
Yeah, who's vetting the information that the students are?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that
Good
we're not
question.
held responsible if the
Yeah.
student uploads something that's not.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely.
I have a quick question. It says students starting in K through 12 and beyond. So how would this be implemented with those lower grade children? I mean, would they start at the very beginning of the file in kindergarten or?
So we're starting it with high school. It is, one of the things they talk about as possibilities are like the badging system, and there's some other things that are available that you can utilize for students to start to put in as they earn credentials, as they earn different awards, things as they go through school, they can upload them and we can put them in there. But we thought we would start with high school and then explore the usage and how it works. And then if we see that it's a benefit, we can certainly look to see what would that look like K through 8.
Okay, because down here it says under educational institutions that they gain efficiency in student enrollment and can reduce administrative costs associated with rate requests, whatever. But if this forms some kind of a record for them starting at a young age, wouldn't that serve us as far as registration and stuff in order to be in like a system? And when students are enrolled, they automatically get a student ID number attached to them at the beginning in kindergarten?
Yes, so this is a little bit different than our registration system.
Okay.
So that they'll still have through our student information system. And then this will be, this will be a little bit different. So there'll be 2 separate systems. Now, our student information system will feed this system because that's where we'll get their transcript information. But we will still have to have our student information system. And our student information system doesn't necessarily keep up with recommendations, any of the extra things, credentials, recommendation letters, all of the extras that a student would have to submit to a college or job or post-secondary. It doesn't keep up with any of that. This would though. Like if you will, a professional portfolio.
Is there a file size limit that they can upload? I mean,
We haven't heard that there is.
a couple videos, you know, how wonderful I am. You know, I'm the greatest student that ever was. Please give me a scholarship, kind of deal.
Meeting.
Of course.
We've read many a scholarship essay.
Awesome, well, thank you very much.
Sounds
Sounds great. Sounds great.
We will definitely follow up on the disclaimer, Mr. Brian, I will do that.
Ms. Bill, do you have anything?
Mr. President, I recommend board accept the funds from the Up Partnership in the amount of $22,000.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to accept the funds from the Up Partnership in the amount of $22,000. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Have a motion from Mr. Victor Garner. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second.
Now I have a question, again, I'm sorry. Do you mind? Yeah, sorry. So real quick, I just wanted, I know to ask, how do you qualify for, other years? Is that you still gonna write the grant, or can you be looked over and not, have the opportunity to do it again?
With your partnership?
Yeah.
No, so this money will last us for several years.
Okay.
And so it's about $1,000 a student, so we have right now about 3,000 students, and so the set fee is about $5,000. So we have enough for a while, and then we will, that'll take us through, we'll see if we like it, and if so, we'll explore more grant opportunities, and or if it's faster, when we found that $3,000, and we can look at other funding in the district as well.
So it doesn't automatically, we have to apply for the grant again? After this money is used, right?
Yeah, assuming this particular grant pool is good.
Right.
So it would be, at least something we'll either look for applying the same grant, there's a grant, sometimes they don't have to locally, either.
Yes.
We have a second for Mr. Steve Bryant. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Move on to 7.4, ACS visas on INS rates.
Trustees, in your miscellaneous packet, you'll see a document from Specialized Public Finance, which is the Rogus group. It looks like this, you can see before. There's 3 or 4 slides there that explain the process and the purpose of defeasing the INS tax rate. In the most simple terms, per legislative action in 2009, Board of Trustees had the opportunity to consider adopting a resolution that allows the district to stabilize its current year's INS tax rate for the purposes of paying the upcoming year's scheduled bond payments early. And so what we're going to be bringing to you tonight is the consideration of keeping our INS tax rate at its current 21 cents and defeasing that, meaning generating some additional revenue with the intent of paying down earnings from callable 2014 bond payments. What that allows us to do over in the short term is pay down debt, so that if the community were to support the November bond referendum, it allows the board to keep the INS rate as low as possible throughout the course of that bond program. What Victor presented at the last special meeting was an amount that we believe we would be able to present to the community of a 10-cent tax increase over the course of 5 years. In order to accomplish that, this was part of the strategy. And so essentially, as I mentioned before, on the last page there, you'll see that the intent here is to maintain the INS tax rate of 21 cents. It's calculating to generate excess INS tax revenue of about $1.2 million. The attached resolution will allow the defeasants to collect excess revenue in a range of $1 million to $1.5 million for the fiscal year 2022. And with those additional proceeds, the district's going to target and redeem maturities from outstanding Series 2014 bonds and pay them off early. So we have to answer, do my best to answer any questions for my have. As departments for this time as well.
So we're saying we're gonna maintain this 0.2160 for 10 years?
No, sir, just this one.
Oh, just this one.
Yes, sir. And we'll generate approximately 1.2 million, which we can then pay off early since 2013 months.
Just out of curiosity, what's the balance of that 2014?
Well, there's several other total, I can get that information for you. This will just pay off 1.2 million of those remaining.
Doug, any questions?
Mr. President, I recommend board consideration and action to approve the defeasance and redemption of the current INS tax rate as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to make consideration and action on the defeasance and redemption. Do I have a motion? A motion from Mr. Chief Runner. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Richard Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Seven point five, ACS discussion and adoption of the 2021-2022 proposed budget. Mr. Scully.
Yes, sir. I call Ms. Burns, podium to present the board with our 21-22 proposed budget. It is attached to your electronic packet. And you can take us through the high points of the proposed budget.
I'll be glad to. Hope you don't mind, but I talk better like this. I'm afraid I'm gonna start talking, I'm gonna set that thing right now. But I want to talk about the proposed budget because this is the first year that we have done the budget with our new software assembly. And so this is the first presentation from that software. And anyway, the proposed budget is 94,172,581 for revenue for local. And then we have expenditures, 94,672,581 for expenditures, all functions. And that means we're gonna go over by $500,000, which is our capital improvements. I want to explain something on this. Y'all probably thinking, we gave all those raises, how are we gonna do this, and how are we just going up so, not so much on our budget? It's because with the ESSER 3 money, we have moved $3 million to go to ESSER 3 for salaries of the high school teachers, that are the regular basic teachers, because by moving that money to the ESSER 3 money, that freed up enough money for us to provide the salary increases we needed to give our staff for this year. We can do that for 3 years, and we feel like after 3 years, with our enrollment and everything that's going on, and that'll help our fund balance, that after 3 years, we'll be able to pull those monies back and pay our teachers through the general fund. But having that ESSER 3 is a win-win for us and for our employees to get a raise. I will go some more into this about ESSER 2, but I want to kind of finish what else we're having on this budget. You have to approve this first budget. It's the first page is what you're approving. And you're approving the general fund, the special revenue fund, which is child nutrition, and the debt service fund. That's the only three you have to approve. The general, the special revenue, child nutrition, we're trying to build it back up. It is going to have another deficit, but they have enough money in fund balance to cover that deficit. If they didn't, we would have to pay it on a local. But with their stewardship, with Mr. Thomas and his two fabulous ladies in the back, they're able to really guide and put this program together. So we feel like, yes, on paper, it looks like we might be hitting fund balance, but we feel like we'll be doing much better next year with the kids in school. And then with debt service, the amount is a little bit higher because I put the defeasance in there to make the payment. And I left $7,765, which is, I hate to say, the interest we're gonna make on $10 million. and we don't hardly make interest anymore. But, I didn't use the interest for the defeasance, but I put in everything, any tax money that we're gonna get to go towards the defeasance. So basically, y'all need to approve this first budget, and it's in total for $111,473,420 for the expenditures, and $110,608,682 for the revenue. And y'all approve it like this because it's based on functions, and for expenditures, and on revenues, it's based on objects that you're approving. So, I want to talk about the general fund. The general fund had, that we're gonna spend 94 million. Well, ESSER 2 came in board. Well, ESSER 2 came on board, and there was a little bit of back and forth between the state and the federal government. The state wanted to use it to take care of the whole harmless that they paid us for our ADA. The federal government said, no, you have to use all of it that the schools have it, you're not gonna get your money back and forth, back and forth. And so finally, the state convinced the federal government, yes, we can provide what we need to get our money back. So, the state is gonna take away from us $4.5 million this year. So that means next year, we can find $4.5 million that we're gonna spend on utilities, maybe other salaries, and we're gonna move that to ESSER 2. And what that's gonna do is that's gonna bring our fund balance back. So we're gonna start on this first thing next week and see what we can move out of local funds and move to ESSER 2. We'll be taking budget amendments to y'all, so y'all know all the time where we're moving that money out, so that way, that money helps our fund balance for next year. And so that's the plan on that. Now, I can go through each page of this and talk about any of these pages if you want. And I see this Brian saying, no, Judy, please. But I am more than happy to answer any questions and go over any of this with y'all. Oh, okay, well, that was probably there. So we have other pages that talk about the different revenues, about the athletic revenues by object code. So feel free to ask any question you might have on this.
Ms. Dale, you got anything?
Mr. President, I recommend board approval of the 2021-2022 school district budget as presented.
We have a recommendation to approve the 2021-2022 school board district budget, the school district budget as presented. Got a motion?
So moved.
Moved from Mr. James Moore. Have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Mr. Victor Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to 7.6, ACS discussion and adoption of the 2021 tax rate. Mr. Scott?
Sir. All right.
Okay. Again, we are probably going to be the lowest school district in Bexar County on our taxes with our INS and with our maintenance and operation rate. Because of the maximum compressed rate, we had to go back down by a nickel on local maintenance. And that is basically told to us by TDA. They get our information and then they send us a little spreadsheet that says this is what your tax rate is for local. You don't have any wiggle room except for the 5 pennies, and we take the 5 pennies on. If we didn't, our tax rate would be like 82 cents, but we do take the 5 pennies, so we will be probably the lowest school district with the tax rate. So it's going to be maintenance and operational will be 0.876, and interest and sinking will stay the same, 0.2160 for a total tax rate of $1.092 for our total tax rate.
Mr. Brazil?
order. Said rate to be comprised of 0.8760 for maintenance and operation and 0.2160 for debt service. This year's proposed total tax rate does not exceed the effective tax rate.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the tax rate levy for 2021 of 1.092 per 100 assessed value as per tax order. Said rate to be comprised of 0.8760 for maintenance and operation and 0.2160 for debt service. This year's proposed tax rate does not exceed the effective tax rate. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
A motion from Lenine Teresa, and a second from Victor Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Roland, I want to thank you and your staff for encouraging students for this exceptional work. We always make big news out of the fact that we're the lowest or the second lowest or something like that. It doesn't happen magically. It happens because of y'all's stewardship and your leadership in this area. So thank you. Thank everybody who's got a budget to work with and keeping it down to what you need, not necessarily what you want. We'd all like for our kids to be driving Escalades instead of Toyotas, but it's our people's money, it's not our money. So thank you for what you do.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate it.
We move on to 7.7, ACS 2021 amended budget and information. Mrs. Scott?
Okay, now this is where it really gets good about the amended budget, because of this too. But again, Mr. Bryant, this is really where the budget stewards shine. Our budget stewards were very careful last year. So careful, we're gonna leave about 7 to 8% on the table, which for a budget of $90 million, that's good money. And so we feel like we'll probably be spending around 93% of this budget. So if it looks on paper that we're going to the fund balance, then we won't be going to the fund balance that. So again, that is attributed to all these budget stewards, their secretaries, everybody here, to kind of keep us on what we needed to do and still be what we needed to have. So on this one, you again have to approve this one page, the amended budget page. It's by general fund, special revenue, and debt service. And this is the budget cleaned up from what we presented to y'all a year ago, with some little changes, a couple of little changes, like I talked before, the whole harmless that the state took away from us. So I had to pull $4.5 million out of the state revenue. I discussed it with our auditor because so many people are doing so many different things, but our auditor said to take it away from state revenues, which I knew I would need to do that. So once I pulled that out, because our whole harmless at TEA was on ADA, 9,223, and our actual was 8,543. That's 600 some odd less ADA, which equates to like $4.5 million. So that's the big news on this one. But the better news is that our budget stewards did a fantastic job of not spending the money, which allowed for us not to really go into the hole and keep a healthy fund balance for what projects you'll need to start for next year. And I'll be glad to go through any of these that you'd like to see. As you can see, debt service with their tax collection made around 800 some odd thousand more than what they got before. And again, we were struggling with child nutrition. We went in the hole about $1.3 million. Again, that's only on paper. But that was a struggle for them last year. But they were up for the struggle and they were real careful with their money. And then the general fund, it looks like we're going to go in the fund balance of $6,463,000, but we won't be because of the expenditures that's not going to be happening. And again, I'll be glad to go through any of these pages and go through all of the different areas. Just let me know what you'd like to talk about.
Debbie, good?
Recommend board approval of the 2020-2021 amended budget as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the 2021-2022 amended budget and information as presented. Do I have a motion? So moved. I have a motion from Mr. Victor Garza and a second from Bill Brazil. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Judy.
Thank you, John.
That's a private joke, people, so anyway. We'll move on to 7.8, 2021-2022 updated employee compensation schedule. Mr. Scott.
Mr. President, trustees, just bringing a couple of amendments to the 21-22 salary compensation plan that the board adopted on June 17th. Since that adoption, we noticed a couple of opportunities to clean some things up. The first of which was 3 positions in the district that had titles that were a little bit confusing with other positions that were not similar. So we changed the title, did not change the job on those 3. But then there were 2 positions that we've since restructured and completely changed the pay classification for those 2 positions. So we wanted to rename them as well as put them in the new pay grade in our salary book. And then lastly, we kind of had an informal, if you will, program where any of our trades, electrician, HVAC, plumbing, tradesmen that earned a master's license, we give them an additional $1 an hour that was not in our salary book. I wanted to make sure to put that in there because it has been an informal program that we've had for many years. So I just wanted to formalize it and make sure it's in our salary book. In addition to that, bus drivers, recruitment and retention of bus drivers and monitors is a challenge for us as it is everybody else. Anything we can do to ensure that their compensation is very competitive, but also that we incentivize them to recruit, but also to stay with us and perform well. The board had adopted the last couple of years a performance incentive program for many of our job classifications, for child nutrition, grounds, building mechanics, and drivers and monitors, and basically good attendance, good performance. At each quarter, they qualify for a $300 bonus. The one thing that we realized is the drivers are the only group among those who don't have the opportunity to earn all 4 quarters because they only drive 3 of the quarters. And so to further incentivize them to perform well and stay with us, if they earn 3 quarters of bonuses, they automatically earn the 4th. In addition to that, we had for a while, we kind of discontinued a referral bonus program where drivers could recruit other drivers. And should they finish the program, get licensed, start driving, and stay with us for a period of time, then they could qualify for a referral bonus. And I believe that's $300 as well. Am I correct? Yeah. So we just wanted to formally reinstitute that as another effort to recruit new drivers into our driving store. So those are the amendments that we'd like to add and amend in the salary book that the board adopted in June. If you have any questions.
Does that include, I know it says driver, but you said driver, not monitors?
Monitors as well.
Oh, okay.
Yes, monitors.
The bonus.
Yes, it's not a bonus.
Still?
I recommend board approval of the 2021-22 updated employee compensation schedule as presented.
We have a recommendation from the superintendent to approve the 2021-2022 updated employee compensation schedule as presented. Do I have a motion? Have a motion from Mr. D. Bryant, second from Mr. Richard Garza. All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? carried. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Do I have would anybody like anything to pull from the consent agenda? No. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented? Do I have a second? Increases, and second, Mr. Garland. All in favor? All opposed? Motion carries. Adjournment. Everybody agree that we adjourn the meeting today. 6 p.m.